Welcome to the Bait Boys podcast, the podcast that we're fairly certain is well within the top 100 bait-making podcasts in the world, but there's no way to verify it, so I guess we'll never know. My name's Jesse with Freek Baits Custom Fishing Lures, and as usual, I am joined by my notorious co-hosts, Anthony from Lazy Baits Co. and Trevor from Peak Baits. Gentlemen, how are you on this fine evening?
Oh, I am good.
That's my favorite part of the intro, is you guys just leaving me hanging. But anyway, today we are lucky enough to be joined by Eric Needham from Versatile Baits, bait maker extraordinaire, and from what I understand, also an avid angler. But we'll get to more in that. Eric, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. Trying to stay cool. It's hot here in Oklahoma.
Well, yeah. It's
I think here too.
Yeah, it's hot everywhere. It's hot all across.
Finally.
I'm not that far from you, Eric. I'm in Missouri,
You're
so
not?
yeah,
Oh,
we're
okay.
kind of getting the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Getting the same heat wave. But yeah, we'll get to more with Eric here in just a minute. But first, so this is the point where we normally do announcements, but I don't know that we have any real announcements to make at this point. But I do just want to say on behalf of all of us, thank for the overwhelming positive response to our first 6 episodes. It's bigger each and every time. We're getting more views. We're getting more Spotify downloads and plays on each episode as they come through. So thanks everybody for the overwhelming support. We get a lot of great messages, and we're just happy that you like what we're doing. So just wanted to say we appreciate it.
I'm getting a lot more question of the weeks.
That's good.
That's a good sign.
That's a good sign. Do you have your spreadsheet ready?
No.
Okay. Well, that's all right. We already have our question of the week for this one, and it's a good one.
That's why I didn't add any to it, because I knew we had one, but I got some for next week and the week after.
Great. We'll just keep ahead on that.
I'm prepared.
Any other announcements on our side, gentlemen? Are we ready to just go ahead and roll? Oh.
Yeah, little chipmunk. Do you recognize this? This was Hunlore's design that we're going to be doing something special with. But we'll talk about that later. I don't want to get into it right now.
Is Victor going to be okay with you spilling the beans on that already?
Yes. I texted him. I made sure.
Okay, cool.
Only because I think we're a week or two behind, or at least a week. So by the time this goes out, I think we'll be ready. So it'll make sense.
Well, now that we got that out of the way, it is time once again for our segment that features the bait maker with the most. And that would be your very own Trevor. And this segment is called Let Trev Cook.
So, what's cooking? We got the Peking duck. It's almost the temperature, but, not quite there, so it's not going to get shown just yet. And then I have something else I have to just get off my chest. Manners are good. I understand some people are savages, and they raise their children like savages, but I'm walking back to my car from fishing week or so, 2 weeks maybe ago. And, I see this nice family making tons of noise, throwing everything they can around the woods, but it's cool. I'm just hoping to not get hit. So I get close. I say hello to the father, the mother. The little kid says hello. I walk by him. I get sneezed on. Like, right on my arm, soaking wet. I look at the dad, doesn't even say anything to me, Not, I blessed the kid. That's the first thing that came to my mind was bless you. And I'm like, have a great day, guys. I could still feel it today. I still feel the wetness. I still see it. I got PTSD. I can't walk past strangers' kids in the woods now.
Gross.
Are there a lot of those strange kids in the woods?
Not usually, but this was a pretty motley crew. Not that, someone might not think that looking at me and my family, but,
So sneezed right on you, huh? Just like open mouth, made no attempt to...
I wasn't even a foot away from him, like as close as you could pass without being in a bubble. Like the kid right level to his face, sneezed right on me. It was terrible. It totally ruined.
I think it's because he liked you.
You got a funny way of showing it.
In Marcus territory. And the parents did nothing?
No, they didn't say anything, nothing. Like, I don't even think they knew what to say. Like, I wasn't upset. I wasn't mad. I was just, bless you. Have a great day. All I could do is
Thank you.
get into the car. I got to wash my arm. This feels so disgusting.
Well, kudos to you for not just backhanding a kid, because I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation.
I mean, I've had my own kid sneeze right in my face, like in my mouth, and that was disgusting. This was another level.
But at least that's your kid, and
Yeah.
you're used to their gross. A stranger's kid, man, that's a whole other level.
Yeah.
It's up there with one of my 2025 lows. Kind of
If
like
that's the lowest of 25, you're all right.
No, it's up. It's with one of them. It's just in the list right now. We'll figure it out in December. What takes the cake?
Man, anything else cooking? That
No.
sounds like that's been cooking for a minute. So you need to do. I'm glad you got that off your chest or off your arm, I guess.
No, that's about it right now.
Awesome.
But
well,
that's it. No, that's it. I want to just leave it at but there.
I'm glad you made it through. You're here with us.
It was tough. I had to get a tetanus.
I don't know if that's the solution.
But better safe than sorry, I guess.
I think I recovered from the duck bite, so I was up to date.
There we go.
Good.
There we go. Yeah, gotta avoid which I don't know that tetanus is for. Anyway, but regardless, glad you're okay. Just glad you're okay. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'm glad to give you the opportunity to cook on that subject in this installment of Let Trev Cook.
Cooking E. coli. I'm sorry. Now it's coming out. The wound is resurfaced.
Well, let's move on before Trev has a full blown flashback, and let's get into our guest here. So once again, we've got Eric from Versatile Baits, and Eric, like most of all of our guests, I've not had the chance to talk with you, but I know that these guys are more familiar with you than I am. Big shocker to all of our audience that's watched any of our episodes with a guest. I know no one other than these guys, but they have all the connections. But thank you again for taking the time to hang out with us. I'm excited to get to know more about you. I have, I've looked at, obviously, the stuff you've got on Instagram, and I went to your website and realized that you're sold out of like literally everything except maybe stickers. So I'm going to order a sticker for now, but once you have some more stuff back in stock, let me know. And
sure.
I know Anthony has at least one of your baits. I don't know about Trevor, but I mean, you make some awesome stuff, man. I just want to say, like, you've got some really cool stuff out there. But before we get into the baits themselves, we want to learn a little bit more about the man, right? The man behind Versatile Baits.
Sure.
So why don't you just give us a rundown of, let's start with at the very beginning, as we typically do. What got you into fishing? What made you decide that fishing was a lifelong hobby for you?
So I kind of got it from both sides, right? So my father, mainly growing up, he catfished, and then my grandfather and my uncle and my cousin, they was more on the bass fishing side. And it's kind of really in my blood on both sides of the family, my mom and my dad's side. I grew up fishing pond hopping. I got a little brother of mine, and that's all we used to do growing up was just pond hopping. If there was a body of water, we tried fishing it as much as we could. And it kind of just went from there. My uncle, he fishes a lot of tournaments, like local jackpots and stuff like that. He's fished some of the BFL divisions and stuff like that. And that just always intrigued me. And then, so my mother's talking to me. She's right here.
Hi, Mom.
So it really intrigued me. I remember I got my first bait caster. And I'm pretty hard headed. So if there's something that I want to learn it, I'll learn it. Right. So I remember pitching out there in a cup, and it kind of just really went from there. And then, I'm in the military, and I told myself that I want a bass boat, because I did all my pond hopping, from the bank the majority of the time. I ended up getting a piece of styrofoam, fished off of it till I flipped it over, lost all my tackle. That made me mad. So then I've had series of flat bottoms and V bottoms boat, but I went to Iraq and I said, well, you know what? I'm saving up the money, and when I come home, I'm buying a bass boat. And that's really kind of when I got really ate up with it. Like that's really kind of went off the deep end. So fishing's always been in my blood. Never really got out of that for sure.
No, that's Yeah, I think that's a common story of once you buy the boat, you've already invested, then you might as well just keep going, and don't want to waste that money. So you got
What's crazy is that my little brother, like I say, man, we had thousands of acres to essentially pond hop on. It was actually his little sister's grandparents, and I was actually just talking to him yesterday. You know, he doesn't bass fish at all, and it's crazy to me to think that that's literally all we did. Like, I would go to his house on Friday, we'd pack up a PB&J, 22s, and our fishing poles. And now that I think of it, like, I don't know how we carried all this stuff. I really don't, because we walked miles. And we would be gone Friday night. Sometimes we'd leave Saturday morning, and we wouldn't be home until Sunday night. Whatever we found or what we caught is what we ate.
Good time.
Like, we took one PB&J. And I was talking to him last night about it. It's like, it's crazy to me to think that, like, he don't bass fish, but he hasn't always had the opportunities to go, or, you know, he just hasn't really stuck with the whole fishing spectrum, and he just don't have the confidence to go out and catch fish, and he kind of just fallen out of it. But yeah, I'm still completely ate up with it, obviously.
So what you're saying is he's got money. He still has money in his account.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably the smart move, but
that's literally what he said too. He was like, I'm tired of spending all this money for fishing and not catching fish, so I just give up.
Well, I'm glad that's not the case for me.
Yeah.
I'm too dumb to give up, even though I can't catch fish, so it's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great. No, that sounds like my ideal weekend, man. Like, just going out a 22 and a fishing pole and maybe a PB&J and just living wild for a little while.
Yeah, we were young. Like, we couldn't even drive at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like, so we were young. That's literally that's what we did, was just pond hop. And like I said, I've just kind of just been stuck with me ever since. I've always managed to find time through my even like deployment. I was trying to find somewhere to fish, but you're in Iraq. There's no water. But you know,
I was gonna ask, is there water over there?
No, not really. There was a river, but we couldn't go to it. But yeah, it's always been in my blood for sure.
You ever take a kayak? You ever take it to the river and like camp overnight and just spend like multiple days floating and fishing a river?
No, because mainly where we're at out here, someone will, like, there's not that much like public land, I guess you could say. Like, there's not a river really around here, I mean, that you can float, and you're not going to be by someone's house, or someone's going to be able to see you from, you know what I mean? There's not that much exclusivity. I think that's the word. There's not that much public land on any river really around here to do any of that.
Man, that's something I've always wanted to try.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I don't know. It would have to depend on the time of year for me. You know, but I'm assuming in Oklahoma it's similar, and maybe it's similar for you two up in the Northeast. But like here where I'm at, I'm in southern Missouri, so we get precisely 6 days of spring and maybe 5 days of fall, and it's usually raining for 4 of those days.
Yeah.
So it goes from 20 degrees to 90 in like the span of a week and a half. So I'm assuming you probably experienced similar.
Yeah. Yeah. Where at Missouri are you?
Do you know where Table Rock Lake is?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Down by Branson. I'm like 30 minutes north of that.
I got you. I went to, I've been to Fort Leonard Wood like 3 or 4 different times for some training. And every time I go, like when I tell you like fishing's in my blood, like I go to my classes, and then as soon as I'm out, I will go stock up on every trout thing I can find on post. And I'll just go catch trout the whole time I'm there.
Yeah. You go to Bennett Spring?
I think that is what it's called on Fort Leonard Wood. There's a spring in Fort Leonard Wood.
Then no, I'm not familiar with that one. I grew up 20 minutes from Fort Leonard Wood in Lebanon. So,
no kid.
But there's a big natural spring down there, and there's a lot of trout fishing in that area too. It's just, I figured you might be familiar with the area, but
yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's take that next logical step into, obviously, are you a full-time bait maker? Are you a full-timer, or do you have the day job too, like the rest of us schmucks?
Yeah. I'm full time for the Army, so I'm in the National Guard.
that's
But
right.
I have like a federal technician job, so I wear my uniform every day throughout the week, and then I
Okay.
come home, get changed, and come in here and start working.
One of these days, we're going to meet somebody that can pay the bills with bait making. But no, that's awesome. Your day job is obviously much more important, and thank you for
There's
your service.
probably like 5 people.
Thank you for your support.
Absolutely, all day, every day. But what got you into bait making in the first place? What made you want to graduate from, okay, I like to fish, now I want to make my own baits, and now I want to make baits for other people? Let's walk us through that story.
Okay, and I can almost assure you that my story is going to be different.
Awesome.
So again, when I came back from deployment, I've always had interest in I've always like done modifications to all of my, standard tackle you can buy. I've always done weird stuff to it to try to be a little bit different, because sometimes that can make a difference between catching, another fish. So when I came back from deployment, I remember I bought like this airbrush set. It was actually some woman I bought. She was doing like body paint with it, but it was cheap off Facebook, so I bought it. And I bought this little cheap lathe off Facebook, and I started making like top water pencil poppers to fish like at the dam for striper, because there's a wall that comes out there. We couldn't reach the striper with the typical ones you buy that didn't weigh enough. So I made custom like 3 3/4 ounce pencil poppers. And I'd done that for a while, and I tried to start airbrushing crankbaits. And then I realized really fast that I can't do that like your standard airbrush painter, because I'm colorblind. And I realized that there was like zero money in it. So I kind of quit doing that for a while. But how I started making actual glide baits was a dare, actually.
Interesting.
I had a buddy come to me. I had a buddy come up to me. His name is Scott Shell. If anybody goes on my Instagram or Facebook, he's all over on my social media stuff. He's one of my testers. He came up to me. He works up there on the same military post that I work on, and he brought me this glide bait. I'm not going to say no names. And he was like, "Hey man, check out this glide bait." And I had heard about glide baits, but I had never like dove into them. I didn't know that there was like a whole community surrounding big baits at all. And I was looking at it and I was like, man. And there were certain quality aspects on that bait that I was like, because I had already done making pencil poppers. So like I knew a little bit about epoxy and stuff like that. And the epoxy on this bait was not very good at all. And I kind of said like, man, I think I can do this. And he's like, you think you can make one? And I was like, I think I can. He's like, well, then do it. I dare you. And that's quite literally what happened. I'm pretty hard headed, like I said it before. So I had been carving and stuff like that already. I had no idea that this was going to lead to any of this. And it took me probably about 8 different carvings and then several modifications within them carvings, and a whole year and a half before I got a bait to swim right. Don't get me wrong, there was at least 4 times where I had almost said, screw this, I'm done. And of course, the wife was like, no, you spent way too much money and way too much time. You got it. Go back to the drawing board, try again. But yeah, that's quite literally how I started making baits. And then I finally got one to swim right. Tons and tons of trial and error. And I'm not the kind of person to like try to like feed information off of people or ask people, hey, what do you use or how do you do this? So it was like YouTube, like any video on YouTube when it comes to making a swim bait or any lure, I promise you I've watched it, even to this day. Like I have a hardcore addiction to watching YouTube videos. So I just retained all that information like a sponge, but it still took a year and a half to get a bait to swim right. And then I made 4, and then I gave 1 to Scott. I gave 1 to my uncle that I'd spoken of previously, and then 1 to my cousin that I spoke of previously. And then just locally, it kind of just spread because, I've been doing this for almost 4 years now, and even to this day, glide baits really aren't that popular here. It's starting to kind of pick up, but almost 4 years ago, no one threw glides here. No one, hardly ever. So it was weird, my uncle himself, he's probably won almost $10,000 off my glide bait just here in local tournaments. So that's how it started. It was all on a dare, quite literally.
Yeah. That's a new story. We've not heard anything like that before.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
So now that you've is this just to solidify for your buddy that
it works?
I win because you've taken it a little farther past making the first 4 glide baits.
Yeah. So what happened is I made them 4, and then he had buddies that wanted 1, and then I had my uncle and my cousin, they wanted another one. So I was like, crap, you know what I mean? I gotta make new molds, or I've gotta, do this. I'm like, well, I need to refine this a little bit more, because it works. It's good. It swims good, but I can make it better. So then I just kept going and kept going. And then it got to where, like, I think I had used so much of my personal money at this point. I was like, man, if I'm going to continue this, I've got to get something back, And so that's what I did, is I made a post, and I think I sold, like, it took me like 3 or 4 weeks, and I made like 10 of them. And then, like, I sold them 10, and then people told their buddies, and it happened so fast. Not that I had a whole bunch of people, but I had like several people that was like, I want more. And they were buying 6, 7, 8, 9. They wanted like 10 of them, every paint scheme I had. And I don't like letting people down. Right. So I was like, okay, I will, and then it just kind of grew from there. And now, like, now I have so many customers, all the way from Puerto Rico to Alaska. I mean, everywhere, but not Alaska, Canada. It's like, I can't just like shut down shop. You know what I mean? I have way too much people that, like, my glide bait is really a part of their big success and in their fishing. So that's kind of how that happened, really.
Yeah. Kind of evolved from, you won the bet or the dare, and then
I definitely did.
Then you opened the can of worms.
Yeah, and I even told Scott too. I was like, well, I told you I could make one. He was like, oh, I know you could. That's why I told you that. I'm like, come on.
That's the typical buddy talk there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I said that because I know you do it. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's worked out for you.
Yeah.
Would you do it any different?
Man, no, because I feel like and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later, but Anthony understands kind of where I'm coming from. I feel like a lot of the stuff I learned early on, like learning the hard way, kind of, there's things I know now that if I wouldn't have done it the hard way, I wouldn't know now. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? And
there's kind of sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. No, you're good. Go ahead.
That was kind of like one of the topics in our last episode was like, would you recommend starting off with wood or resin? And it was like, my view on it was, you kind of start with wood, and, it's a little trickier, rather than getting a mold that's pre-made, but you learn a lot from that will be used later on. And without 100%. That knowledge, there's just certain little things that you're going to try to troubleshoot, and you're not going to understand why something will fix it or what's going to fix it, because you don't understand, like, the basics.
Right. Yep. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the last episode, and it kind of leads it, but thank you for the segue opportunity, Anthony. It leads me kind of to my next question here. And so, like, in our last episode, we did kind of we just discussed the advantages and disadvantages of, like, hand-carved wood baits versus poured resin baits, and both from like a buying perspective and a making perspective, because we all, like, I do primarily wooden baits, but I do have a couple of resin baits that I offer, and these guys, they're primarily the resin baits. And the consensus we came to is, like, if you're looking to get into bait making, yes, wood is the lowest barrier to entry. Really, all you need is a block of wood and a
If you're making baits for you or a buddy or a couple buddies, wood is the way to go. And obviously, the more you do it, the faster you'll get at it. Yeah, any kind of, I mean, you can still sell wooden baits, and we're definitely going to have to get into the technology that has been introduced.
That's where I'm headed.
Yeah. I actually have he used to be a friend of mine. He was a wood glide bait maker, and I was like, dude, you need to get this, and this will help you make these faster, right? That's what's always in my head. What can I do to speed up my production time? And I always think of it this way because I'm a one-man show, right? And I have a full-time job. So what can I do to speed up my production time without losing quality? To me, quality is more important. If it takes me 3 weeks to make 20 baits and my quality's there, then people are going to have to wait to 3 weeks. You know what I mean? But I'm always thinking of what I can do to speed up that production time. And if I can increase quality, that's even a double bonus. But I can't go down on quality. So that's always running through my head.
Yeah. And that's an important point to make. And I completely agree. I do have my preferences as far as, like, how I like to make things. And so, and I just feel like I'm better with wood than with the resin. But to your point of the quality, like that's like, if no matter how you're making it, if you don't have the quality, and I know you didn't want to mention any names earlier as far as the quality of the bait that you saw, but yeah, I've seen a lot of these big production baits that people are paying $250, $300 more for, that they just don't, they swim great, but they don't have the like, if you're going to pay that much for something, don't get me started on it. I don't need to go back down that hill, but like, I already ranted about that in a previous episode, but
I mean, all that comes down to is the name that's attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Really. I mean, but unfortunately that's kind of the way the world is. That's with anything, clothing, shoes, anything you can think of. If it's a logo that has popularity or clout, so we could say, or hype, then they can raise that price tag on it.
Yeah. All it takes is a couple of big fish pictures, and you can kind of blow up.
That's it. Couple of big fish pictures, and the right people see it, or the right people share it, because there's a lot of, I guess we can call them influencers, especially in the big bait world. I know people in the big bait world that if they said that the Twizzler is the Nest Beck's trick worm, Twizzlers will be sold out. Quite literally.
Yeah.
Who are these people? Let me write their names down.
Do they
I can text you the list.
No. So we've been kind of beating around the bush with it, but the technology aspect of it. So obviously bait making started somewhere, right? Like beyond people tying, or putting minnows on hooks and earthworms on hooks, or using cut bait or whatever, and eventually evolved into, artificial lures. And the older ones are all, they're metal spoons or they're wooden, crankbaits. You see a lot of that stuff early on, but over the past few years, it seems like it's kind of developed into technology has become more integrated in bait making. And
yes.
And obviously Anthony is a wizard whenever it comes to that, using the 3D modeling and 3D printing tools at his disposal to create awesome baits. But it's very polarizing. There's a lot of people who think that that's not right or whatever. They don't think they think it's cheating, and I'm like, obviously you've never tried to 3D model anything, because it is not easy to do, and it's a whole other skill set.
Exactly.
So how do you feel about it?
That's it right there. Man, and I'm going to try to stay on a one-track mind. I'll just start with a little example.
Don't worry about it. Go wherever you want.
I'm going to start with the little example. So a lot of these bait builders, and I'm not even specifically really talking about swim bait builders. I'm talking about just builders in general, the guys who used to hand carve crankbaits and make crankbaits, right? All the builders from back then, I guess looking at from today, they learned the hard way, right? They had to get the wood, they had to do like you was just speaking of. But the technology and the accessibility to knowledge, we'll even say 20 years, has dramatically changed. So I made a post on Swim Bait Universe, which is a Facebook group. It's the biggest Facebook group really that's out there when it comes to big baits.
I love Swim Bait Universe.
Yes. So I made a post in this group years ago. Yeah.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, I know. And it was one of my first prototypes, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it did not swim the best. It swam okay. You can overwork it, you can blow it out. But I went out, and this is what really hooked me in. I went out to a lake that I've been fishing for years. I caught an 8.5 out of this lake, and it was my PB I caught out of there. First trip out, it was a giant. And I was just so stoked about this, and I made this post on Swim Bait Universe. I never mentioned about selling them. I never mentioned about doing any of that. And there was a specific glide bait builder that jumped on there and just like ranted and was like, there's no way you just started making baits. You can't make baits and sell them. And I was like, whoa. I was like,
shocker.
I respect the fact that you've been making baits for X amount of years and it took you this long to make a bait. I was like, but you've been doing this so long, you weren't able to go on YouTube and retain all the information that's available as to someone now. Right. And I think that's something that a lot of people look over. So that's one little branch off the tree. When it comes to just technology in general, and like you spoke, Anthony, I just started to try to use Blender. That program is magic. I do not understand that program at all.
Same.
I now Fusion 360, that's kind of what I really started with when I started, like, because I started with the wood, and I used wood all the way throughout for probably half of it, half the time. Yeah, the I feel like technology, I spoke earlier about what can I do to increase production and not lose quality, right? So, there's companies out there, kind of what Anthony does is you can take a hand carved bait, right? And you can 3D scan it, you can slice it in half, you can mirror it, and now your bait's 100% symmetrical, right? I mean, even a human carving a bait, they can get very, very close. I mean, I'm not no Marlon Bates, right? So I can't do what he does. And I'm going to have some flaws. And aesthetics are very important to me as well. I want it to look as real as possible. So if I can use that technology and turn my bait that's not 100% symmetrical into a symmetrical bait, I'm going to do that. Because not only it's going to look better, it's also going to perform better. If I got one side of my tail that's favoring one side, it might be the slightest bit, but that can fix that issue. And there is a lot of old timers that, they still make baits to this day, and they'll carve one up and post it as like no 3D or technology, all hand carved, and that's fine. I respect that. But I also don't have a full shop, a warehouse, and a crew that work for me that can do all of my bait making while I sit here and carve baits, So I've really integrated a lot of the 3D printing and the design and CAD work to simply do that, increase production without losing quality. And I've learned so much stuff on these programs that I can do what I said earlier. I can actually increase production and quality. And yeah, I can go down a bunch of rabbit holes about that. But essentially, I think that the technology, all the way from the resin printing to the PLA printing to making molds, even to molds for the weights for your baits, so many different things really can. Go ahead. Someone said something.
Here's one thing I feel like people might not understand. And because we just did I don't know if you care if we talk about it, like the prototype mold, where it's not a full production mold. But you spend all this time designing, then making a master mold, and it's not as easy as just carving one and then putting it in clay and pouring silicone and then making a resin bait. Like, you spent 40 hours designing something and then spend another 10 hours printing it, pouring molds, and then it could swim like crap, Like, you find out it's just the geometry of the bait is not, it's not going to work how you wanted it to. So now you have to go back to the beginning, find out what needs to be changed, and do this process again. It's not as simple as like, you're just printing wood and sawdust and glue.
Right. Yeah. And another thing too, you kind of gave me another thing that I think about too is cost. Like, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of design time, right? So when it comes to all these baits, and anybody can look up the cost of these materials for these baits, and it's not astronomically high, right? The main cost and driving factor of these baits is labor, right? How long do I have each bait in my hand? And the longer I have that bait in my hand, that's how much more that product I have to charge, right? So when we talk about prototyping and stuff, for example, this bait right here, this is still on prototype stage. If I was to hand carve this bait and it was wrong, hand carve it, got the Legos out, got the clay out, the days it takes to make an old-fashioned mold, and I poured the resin and it wasn't right, guess what I have to do now? I have to recarve a whole nother bait, right? I mean, I could probably change some angles on the tail, but you can only go so far before you just got to say, okay, screw it, I'm just going to have to carve a whole nother bait. So the more time and effort I have to put into a bait in the prototype stage, that's time and that's labor. And, if I can produce a bait faster, if I can use the technology to make molds, I guess I can call them jigs, right? So if I can make molds that are essentially jigs that produces and speeds up the process of me producing each bait, I can keep that price down as well. So at the end of the day, however I get a final bait, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if I hand carve it and then mold it, or if I create one and then mold it and turn it into resin. Either way, it's still a bait. As long as it swims good, if I can keep that price down, then that's my overall goal. You know what I mean? So I think this technology could really help keep the price down of things. There is a lot of design time, but it's a lot easier to, instead of carving a whole other bait, just go on the computer, change some things, tweak it, and you can also produce more baits faster, different designs faster. There's a lot of design time, but it's still faster at the end of the day to do it that way. Especially someone like me who has a full-time job, because that 3D printer can work while I'm at my full-time job. And that just means more baits for everybody.
Yep.
Couldn't agree
Sometimes
more.
I'm at work and I have like 5 printers running.
I saw that video you posted, was it yesterday, where you had all of them running?
Yeah.
You know, that makes perfect sense, Eric. And I think being on the wooden side of things, for myself primarily, like, I've got zero issue with the integration of 3D printing and mold making and 3D modeling. Because I do, every time I talk about this, I give Anthony credit, because I learned most of what I know about 3D modeling from just watching him do it. And he had worked with me on something previously where he made me a mold, and I was like, I need to learn how to do this. And I did, and I'm not great at it yet. I'm not, it's something I just dabble in. It's not my primary thing, but I think that, and I want to get the group's opinion on this. Do you feel like these people that are old school, if it's not hand carved, it's trash? Do you think that it's more of a like they're pissed because they don't know how to do it? Do you think if they had the opportunity to flip a switch and automatically know how to 3D model and 3D print and had all the stuff, do you think they wouldn't do it?
I don't think necessarily it's the fact that they don't know how to do it. I think it's the fact that they have the mindset that they had to learn the long way. And I respect that fully. I do. I really do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm the one, I did learn the hard way with my first bait, but because there's bait builders out there that have never carved a piece of wood in their life and went straight to the 3D printing world. That's fine too, if they want to do that. I think it's the fact that they had to learn the hard way, and it took them X amount of years to come up with something, and they've refined that over the years. And the fact that, Joe Smo down the road can literally create something that I wouldn't say swims better, but just as good in a fraction of the time. So they feel like that all their work has been discredited, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see how they could feel that way for sure.
Yeah, because there is a right. It's not, and it's because they don't understand. But there are some of the OG guys that are slowly dabbling into that, but they're not doing all of the process. And I think I kind of fall into that age gap where, I grew up without a computer, but I did kind of have a computer. So I'm right in that age gap where I'm pretty computer savvy to a certain extent, but 2 years younger than me, they can catch on to stuff way faster than I can. Like, my son's 13, and I'm just like, here, son, tell me. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And then
been there.
Yeah. And then I feel like, I got some older brothers, and they're like, oh, like, how are you doing that? You know what I mean? So I think that just comes down to it. A lot of these OG guys, they're older and they're not crazy computer tech savvy. So, and the guys who are starting to get into the 3D stuff and using all of this technology, they're just outsourcing it, is what they're doing. And I think they're starting to catch on. It's almost like live scope. You got the old school guys that are like, oh, that's cheating. But us younger guys are like, you either get it, you either scoping or you're hoping, or, move on. And I think there's some old school guys that are starting to get like that. Like, hey, it takes me this long to produce a bait, but this guy can produce a bait in this time. I either need to get with the times, or, I got to shift focus. And I think, just an analogy there, I think that's my opinion on this. Anthony, what do you think?
That makes sense.
I think they don't understand the amount of work that would go into it.
They don't.
Like, if I showed up to someone's shop that they carved baits with a laptop, and we sat there, and there was a sketch of a bait, and we both went to make it, and they saw that it actually takes me 3 times longer to get the bait produced for the first one, I think they'd find it interesting and maybe a little like, wow, that's actually some work goes into it. Because like you said, as far as quality and production volume, having a master mold that's symmetrical and you're not playing with clay and, every single master mold is the same. If you pour 1 and 10, they're all going to be the same. So you make up the time in the long run, but it is a lot of work to get to that point. Like,
yes.
Look at you trying to learn Blender right now. Just so you know, the only reason I know anything about Blender is because of Victor from Hunlores. So everything that I tell you, he told me, and I had the same questions for him. So don't feel bad asking me anything.
Well, I already forgot everything you told me, so
I gotta show you. We gotta get on a video. But
yeah,
anyway,
for sure.
Like you'll spend 10 hours trying to figure out, how do I get rid of this little bump on the bait?
I'm telling you, I was literally on the computer until 4:00 the other morning, and I accomplished nothing. I just exited out of it. Do you want to save? No.
And it's like, if it were wood, you would take a piece of sandpaper and sand it. But it's a computer, and it has a mind of its own, so you got to figure out how to make it do what you want it to do. Because you don't speak zeros and ones. You're not speaking the same language. So I think they would respect it a little more if they knew what went into it.
100%.
Agreed. I think that's a big thing that people are missing, is that backstory, like you just said. If you had any idea what it took to actually get to that point where you're pouring, or you can pour, 10 baits at a time, like if you knew all the work that went into it and you were there for every minute of it, every time Fusion screwed up on you and you couldn't get it to do the thing that you wanted to do, that triggers me, because it happens to me on every single bait I try to make in Fusion.
Still, yeah.
If you knew, again, like I said at the beginning, it still takes a tremendous amount of skill to make a great bait in the 3D space, the virtual space. It still takes a lot of skill, a lot of time, a lot of effort, blood, sweat, and tears. You're not going to risk, slicing your finger off, but the psychological damage could be just as bad whenever it comes to the level of frustration. So I think if people just had more understanding of that, then I agree with both of you. I think it would be they would be more open to it and less critical of it.
100%. Just like Live Scope, don't put fish in your boat.
No, it doesn't. Listen, I have Live Scope, and the only thing it does for me is just make me angry, because I know
even more.
I know that fish saw my bait. I know it did. I can set it right on its nose. I can't make it bite it.
Yep.
Yeah, I up my chances a little bit, but it's not the magic button that everybody tries to, that's against it, tries to claim that it is. It's a tool. And just like bait making, the original baits were hand carved, like no power tools. Do you think that those guys got mad whenever,
started using drills and
the belt sander was invented, and they weren't like these newfangled bait makers with their power tools? That's not real bait making. It's the same thing now.
Exactly.
It's the same thing now. Yeah, I think that's, like everything in the world, if everybody just took time to understand, there'd be a lot less hatred, a lot less animosity towards
100%.
people that you don't necessarily agree with. But no, that's great. And I think that, again, I'm just a glutton for punishment, which is why I stick with primarily wood baits. Like, I understand that I can make a whole lot more baits if I just switched over to resin full time, but I don't do this to make money. I sell baits to pay for me to make more baits. Like, that's really what I do.
Yeah.
It's not my retirement plan. So I do it because I just enjoy it. And I enjoy carving wood, and I don't so much enjoy pouring resin. But but even in that state of mind, I'm like, I'm still totally cool. And I think it's fascinating. But and I dabble in it myself. But that's just my 2 cents.
So I do have one question for you, Jesse. So you say you liked carving wood. So again, the technology, right? I had a used to be friend, I guess we can call him ex-friend. He was a wood carver, and he was trying to put out more numbers as well. Have you ever thought about bringing something similar to a 3D printer to the wood world, but instead of adding material to create something it takes away, like a CNC machine?
I've thought about it, but that kind of robs me of what I enjoy about it. Like, I enjoy the hands-on peeling pieces of wood away until it's perfect. Again, I know that I make a 1/10 of the baits that these guys do. I haven't finished a bait in weeks, just because I've been, I had all kinds of other stuff going on, and to make a bait takes a dedicated effort for me for several days.
100%.
Yeah, I want a CNC. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have a CNC, because I think that there are steps in the process that it would help speed up the parts that I don't necessarily love, like just the outlining and stuff like that, or creating the profile. But but I love the hands-on, and I just use a box cutter. That's all. That's the part of it that draws me in.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily give that up to a machine, because that's the thing I like about it. But it's a great question.
Right. Yeah.
So I got to look for other ways to expedite production, because man, am I slow.
More hands.
So, and you also have to come from a different angle too. So there's a lot of these glide bait guys that's been throwing glide baits for 20, 25 years. And there's some guys out there that don't even want a resin bait. They want wood, because wood does perform differently than resin does. Obviously, the type of wood makes a huge difference, whether you're making a crankbait or a glide bait. But you're the wood professional on that. But a lot of
professional is a strong word, Eric. Professional is a strong word.
But there's a lot of people at best. There's a lot of people who prefer the wood. They don't want resin, and some of it is because of the performance, and some of it just because of the skill. Because I have carved baits before, and it is a whole different skill set compared to the computer stuff. There's pros and cons to both of it, for sure.
Absolutely. And I'll say that whenever it comes to the wood baits, like my customer base is primarily people that want that one of one, right? Like they want that. Right. It's the only one in existence. No one else is ever going to have a bait exactly like this one. It's the people that, and they may not even fish with it, which that kills me every time anybody's like, yeah, I'm just putting this up on the shelf. Like it kills me. I'm like, I made it to fish. I went through great lengths and spent a lot of time making sure it was durable. It had a great action and it looked good. And it kills me every time, but it's your bait. If you're buying it, you do what you want with it. But I hope it gets fished with at least a little bit. I hope it gets to see the water beyond my test tank. And there is a market out there for that. Now I'll say that market is exponentially smaller than the people that want something that they can get out there and fish hard, that works great, that looks good, that they don't have to worry so much about. Because I don't. Honestly, I'll say this, on the market of hand carved baits, I'm probably one of the lowest price, but it's still not cheap, right? It's still not like, even in the crankbaits and the one piece baits, beyond glides and swim baits, like it's still not cheap, because it takes me a ton of time to do it. And I'm not even like, if I try not to calculate the hours, because I'd still be making way less than minimum wage on what I sell them for. But again, I'm just trying to keep the business going. I'm just trying to keep the hobby going. If I need to buy more materials, if I need to buy a new tool, if I need to replace something, I just want to I want to make enough money off of it to be able to do that, to where I'm not having to continually dump my own money into it, to where it just kind of sustains itself. But I could ramble on for hours about it, and I won't do that, because this ain't about me. But no, it's a great question, and you're right. Like there's different markets for everybody, and that's kind of what we discussed in the last episode. Is like, whenever it comes from a buying perspective, what do you want out of it? Are you wanting that one of one art piece, display piece that looks incredible, and maybe you'll fish with it, or are you wanting something that still looks incredible, but it's there's more of them, they're similar, there's but it's also proven it'll catch fish. Like it depends. It's two different types of people, and there's very little crossover between those groups. And that may be what we're seeing from some of these people that are like, oh, resin bait's gross, or oh, wood baits. Why would you do that? Why would you pay that much for a wooden bait? Like, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could go on for hours about it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to chill out.
I had to just ask that question.
No, I appreciate it. And I've never been asked a question on here before, so that felt kind of cool. I'm usually the one blabbing and asking the questions, so it's a nice change. So, but yeah, I think, again, just like LiveScope, you're either going to evolve. If you want to stay in it and you want to be successful, you're either going to have to evolve, which is why I started offering resin baits in the first place. I wanted something that was a low barrier of entry to grab a new customer base, to just to have that option for those people, because I want to expand my audience. I want to expand the people that want to, to buy my baits. And it wasn't a big deal for me to do that, because I enjoy doing both. I just enjoy the wood more. So that's what I do more. But yeah, maybe that's the divide that we're seeing, is those two customer groups don't necessarily see eye to eye, or those two buyer groups. But anyway, I'll shut up.
I think they should go to war. We should stick them in a room and let them fight it out.
I mean, that would be entertaining. I will say that. I don't know that I would bet on who would win because some of those old salty dogs are tough.
They got that
They're tough
old man
buzzards.
strength.
They got that old man strength. You know,
They'll pull a chisel out on you.
Yeah, they fight dirty. Another question here, and then we'll take a quick break. And I kind of asked this question of every bait maker. Well, all 2 bait makers that have come on. You being the second one that have come on the show here. But if you could give advice to somebody that's thinking about getting into bait making, maybe they've been what like I started watching some marling baits videos and saying, "Oh, that looks fun," or whatever level of it they're in. They're thinking about taking that first step of getting into bait making. My advice to them is don't. Save the money and save your site, but so that's taken. You can't say that. But what piece of advice would you offer somebody that's thinking about getting into it, and what have you learned along your way?
I actually almost already said this by what you were saying a second ago. I think this is the biggest. I have had a lot of people ask for advice. And a lot of people like to gatekeep a lot of the information. As long as it's not proprietary to my specific baits, I usually do share most of it. But the biggest deal for me, every time someone asks me this, I simply tell them, because a lot of people see the prices that we sell these baits at, and they're thinking, I can make a quick buck. I always tell them, if you are trying to make baits to make money, don't, right? Simply don't. Like if you're trying to start making lures and you think you're just going to get rich because you looked up how much it costs to get a jug of resin and some screw eyes and some hooks, and you're like, oh shoot, this is 15 times what you're charging for them. I'm going to get rich. Don't do it, because there is a lot of trial and error, and everybody here knows that. But when I got into it, I had no idea. I'm just hard-headed enough that it didn't stop. Really. But that's the biggest advice. That's the biggest advice I can give somebody. If you're wanting to make baits to make a quick buck, it's not going to work out for you. It's not. Obviously, it takes money to make money, right? I mean, obviously, if I made $0 off of this, none of us made no money off of anything we did, obviously, we most likely wouldn't be able to do it, right? Unless we're just completely rich. But obviously, none
of us are millionaires. We cleared that up in the last episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's the biggest advice I can make. If you're wanting to make baits for you and your friends, or if you're wanting to start a business making baits, biggest thing I could say is take your time and have great customer service. I think customer service is very overlooked, really 100%. Everywhere. But in the glide bait world, I feel like, there's a lot of great baits out there. There really is. And there's a lot of baits that swim similar. And you have, Joe and Billy here that both like these 2 bait builders that don't like the other one, but the baits are very similar. And that comes down to customer service. If someone has a question for me, I reply. I don't have one unread message on any of my platforms at all. I've called customers to ask a specific question. Hey, are these baits going to a painter? If they are, I won't put hooks and eyes in them. Customer service is very huge. Now, does that require a lot of time on my phone? Yes, it does. But at the end of the day, my glide bait swims good, and so does X glide bait. But if you can never get a hold of them, or you don't have good customer service, naturally, I'm going to get that business if there was the only 2 glide baits in the world. So good customer service, that's huge. If someone's trying to make a business out of it, take your time, make sure it's right, have good quality control, and great customer service. And as long as you do that, it's going to feel like you're going nowhere, and don't expect to get rich overnight.
Or even in the next 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, honestly.
It's not a retirement plan. It's definitely not a retirement plan. I mean, unless you come up with the next, invention. I don't even know. It's just, if you invent something that's never been seen before, which is really hard to do nowadays.
It is.
Yeah.
Because technology.
And even then, somebody's probably just going to rip you off and sell it. One of the big companies is probably just going to rip you off and sell it anyway. You're not going to make any money regardless. So, yeah. Wow, I think that's great advice.
So positive.
Hey, listen, if I hadn't heard of it happening already, then I wouldn't bring it up. But that appears to be a pretty common theme. That or some Chinese company is going to rip it off and sell it for a third of the price on Temu. Is Temu still a thing?
I'll buy it and then resell it. Yeah, what happened to Temu?
Haven't heard a lot about Temu.
Is it
Anyway,
gone?
that's not important.
Yeah, no,
I don't
it's
know.
not, but I don't know either. But yeah,
I don't
that's
know
my
if-
advice. That's my advice.
I think it's
That's good
I think
advice.
it's great advice. I think it's great advice. And to echo what you're saying on the customer service, that is huge, and that is key to having a successful business. You know, especially when you're starting out and you're small, one man operation, like all four of us are. Like, you have to have that extra touch there, because there's other places they could go, and there's other places that they maybe even be able to get it cheaper. But people appreciate, I know I appreciate good customer service. I think that, you know, people that are willing to just take that extra step, you don't even have to do anything crazy, but take that extra step just to show me that you give a crap about what's my issue is.
Right.
Yeah, Riverside. We appreciate good customer service.
I mean, and most of the time it's as simple as a message back. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, where's my package at? I do it almost every time I have a drop or I sell a bait. I have at least one person. I'll go to my website, I'll screenshot it, I'll send them the update on where the package is at. I just sent one to Canada and it's taken forever to get there. I had to do the same thing. I even, you know, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, customer service to me is huge. Not only do I make glide baits, I would say I wouldn't say I'm a collector of them because I use all of them, but I buy a lot of other bait builder stuff. I'm friends with a lot of bait builders. I mean, just some crazy oddball stuff here. I mean, I just buy
that's cool
stuff, you know.
Fat
Is that
Tony.
Popper?
Yeah, Fat Tony. Yeah. I've got almost every bait he makes, you know, just because the dude's cool, you know what I mean? And he's out there. He's not trying to get rich. He's been doing it for years. Actually, he's been doing it longer than I have. But Tony's a good guy. But there's baits out there that I don't care if you can do a quarter turn reel pop on that thing, and that thing do 4 360s and then glide out 10 foot to both sides. If you as a person don't have good customer service, or I'll just say you're a piece of crap, I will never buy from you. And there are people out there like that. That I won't buy from them. Simple as that. I don't care how badass their bait is.
Who are they?
I'll send you that list too.
We need to start a group chat. But that's the whole reason I don't go to Popeyes anymore. That's a whole other story. But just because they're customer service at one place.
Hey, if the government ran like Chick-fil-A's drive-through, which it's about there now, we would be awesome.
That's
You
peak
just
Chick-fil-A knows what they're
right
doing.
there.
You just brought up Popeyes and I haven't ate dinner, so
Yeah, me either. Sorry, didn't mean to.
no, it's all good.
Hopefully they can't hear my stomach rumbling through the microphone. But no, so we're gonna take just a quick break. Got a couple more questions for you, Eric. But it's that time again where we have another sponsor.
It's a good one. This one's good. No lawsuits.
That's a matter of opinion, but
Yeah, we are Eric. This is our 7th episode, and we've already been threatened with litigation because of our sponsors. So let's see who it is
Then
this
you
week.
do it, Jesse.
I mean, I'm about to. No, I don't need any extra work. I can't get anything done as it is.
Seriously?
And now for a word from our sponsor.
Hello, I'm Orville Nibbleton, the inventor of the Worm Warmers bait pouch. Welcome to Worm Warmers headquarters. You might be asking yourself, what is the Worm Warmers bait pouch? Well, it's the only bait bag designed to keep your night crawlers cozy in the crotch. That's right, you heard it. Why store your worms in a boring, cold cooler? Ooh, those are cold. You could keep them nestled in your crotch where God and Orville Nibbleton intended them to be. So, let's try it out. It's soft and insulated for maximum wiggle. Let's get rid of this old bag and put them in the Worm Warmer bait pouch. It has a quick draw zipper with scent lock technology that doesn't work, but it's there, and an ergonomic system so you can store it and it stays right where it should until it shouldn't. Well, Thanks for watching. Use code WIGGLEDOWN at checkout for 10% off and a complimentary therapy pamphlet. Worm warmers, heat your bait, question your choices, fish like you mean it.
I will say that that's probably the least offensive sponsor we've had so far, Anthony. So good
It's a
job.
good product. I still got mine in.
Man.
Good to know.
It adds scent too. Anyway,
Man.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric.
Yes.
Glad you're still here. Glad you're still here. Questions. Yeah, we have more questions.
Sure. Let's get into it.
At least it wasn't bad as Grandma Rosie. Yeah. So I asked this question of every single guest that comes on the show, and all three of us answered it in our very first episode where it was just the three of us. That question is, what do you feel like is the greatest lure of all times? And I'll put prerequisite on there. You're more than welcome to choose one of your own. You're more than welcome to choose one of your own if you want to, although that's not any fun, but you do what you want.
Right.
It's just, what do you feel like is the greatest lure of all time of any type, not live bait, because we all,
right.
Live bait catches more fish than anything, but what artificial lure do you feel like is the greatest of all time?
Okay. With the biased opinion, obviously my VG2. Non-biased opinion, that's hard for me. Honestly, I'm going to have to say, so before I got into baits, one of my first lures I was using was a 3/8 ounce PB&J bass jig with a 4-inch speed crawl trailer. That was my juice. If I was having a tough day and I needed a fish, that's what I threw. I got I've won tournaments throwing nothing but that. Strictly that the whole time. I would say probably a PB&J, honestly. PB&J bass jig, 3/8 ounce, with a 4-inch speed crawl trailer on it.
Jigs.
Man,
any specific type of jig, casting jig, swim jig, like what? Doesn't matter.
Usually a hybrid head. I can even tell you the brand too. Elk River, actually here in Oklahoma. Elk River jigs. Man, awesome durable paint, awesome skirt material. It's long. If I want to trim it, I could trim it. Awesome hook. Good weed guard. I've stuck some good ones and hook don't bend out. Great jig. And to be honest with you, I haven't really thrown a jig or any traditional gear in quite some time because I'm pretty ate up with the big baits.
Ate up with the glides, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I just came back from a trip to Canada to go fishing up there. Like, I know in the first episode, I said my favorite or my greatest lure of all time was a Texas rig ribbon tail worm, because that's what I'd caught most of the fish I'd ever caught on. But that was blown out of the water by a chatterbait with a paddle tail trailer.
See,
I
may have caught 5 fish on a chatterbait.
Yeah. Well, I'd caught 0 fish on a chatterbait before then, but that's what they told me to throw up there. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'm going to, I had the Texas rig ready. It was there. It was right next to me in the boat, but
right in the back pocket.
They were right. Yeah, they were right. Everything ate that thing. But no, that's a respectable answer. I think that, I mean, obviously we all like to fish with our own baits.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm cool with the biased answer. That's fine. I like that approach though. You did the biased answer and the unbiased answer. I think that's a fair way to do it, but yeah, that's a good one though. That's a good one. Awesome. Well, let me see where we're at here.
I have a question. Because we all make our own baits, do you feel like you have baits made by other people that you really want to fish, but because the limited amount of time you actually get on the water, you want to spend fishing your own bait, that you don't get to fish the other stuff as much? Yeah, like getting catches or like just dialing something in.
I was gonna go down that rabbit hole and I didn't. But
go for it. Jump on it.
100%. Well, I mean,
it sucks.
And this is just some of my collection, but I have all kinds of builder's baits in here. Anywhere from trashy to 86 to, I mean, I've got, Sensei. I've got all of them. And it's hard for me with my full-time job, my 2 kids, me doing these baits. I have very limited time to fish, just like Anthony said. And when I go, I'm in search of a giant. Like, and I'm not trying to sound like egotistical here, But, you know, I've caught tons of 3, 4, 5 pound fish. I'm in search of a giant. So that's why my traditional gig got put away, on top of me just trying to get content, just like he said. Like, when I go out, that's what I try to do, is get content. And that does take away time for me throwing other people's baits. And he hit the nail on the head right there.
I have each of your guys' baits. I have the VG2. I have a bunch of Trevor's baits. I have a bunch of your baits, Jesse, and I don't ever get to fish any of them. I fished the VG2 for like 15 minutes a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, this thing is amazing. And then I had to go home. And it's like, I haven't been able to fish it since, because I'm like, I gotta tune this bait I'm trying to release, and, you know, then this one the next time. And it's like, I want to fish all these other baits. I got the Splinter, the Fossil from Trevor. I got 2 of your Slim Thicks. I think I spent maybe 20 minutes fishing them, and I've had them for like months now. It's a shame. I think I need to quit my job just to catch up on fishing other
like
people's baits.
Yeah.
Obvious answer to your problem there. That's just.
It's funny
I'm
you
glad
say
we
that.
all agree. So
It's sorry to cut you off, but it's funny you say that, because I remember when I first started doing this, I'm like, man, I got an excuse to go fishing now. I'm gonna get to go fishing so much, and I fish a fraction of the time that I used to.
Yep.
Famous last words. Yep.
You got so much other stuff to do.
Yeah.
Yep. I still got a box full of baits that Anthony sent me that I need to paint. Some of them, like, he sent some just for me to have and paint, and then there's some that I need to get back to him, and they're all just
I don't even care,
sitting there.
dude.
I know you don't care, but I care. Like, I don't want to. I'm not intentionally just sitting on all this stuff, but it's like, it's hard to carve out the time, especially when you got, you know, the full-time job, you got a family, you've got all these other things going on. I don't know how the three of you really, like, find the time. Like, I know you're all busy. I know you've all got a ton of stuff going on, just like I do. But it seems like out of the group, I'm obviously the least productive one. But and I say that with full self-awareness and knowledge that's not an exaggeration. I know for a fact that I'm the least productive one. Trevor's cranking out 60 baits a week, and
Maybe a month, maybe in 2 months.
Yeah, I don't know how you all find the time to make the baits, let alone, it makes perfect sense, like, trying to fish with other people's baits whenever you have A, all of that going on, B, your own baits to try to, get catches, get content, dial in, whatever the case may be. Like, you're right. Yeah, I laughed really hard whenever you said, I thought I was going to have, excuse to go fishing, because it was the same thing. I fished way more before I started making baits than I do now.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, just a tad bit to add on to that too, it's like, and this is to not sound selfish whatsoever, but double digits around me are not, they're not everywhere. I'm not fishing in Texas, and I'll be daggum if I wouldn't go out with someone else's bait and catch that double digit and not be on my bait. I know y'all have all thought about that. I know you have.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and that's my kind of luck. If I didn't have any good luck, it'd be bad luck.
Yeah, what's the one thing that could ruin catching a double digit would be catching it on someone else's bait.
Yeah, it's like I would just throw it back.
Never happened.
Not with even the bait in its mouth. I don't even want to see it.
Just cut the line, throw it back with the bait.
Take the bait with you, you bastard.
You want it that bad, you can have it.
That's great. All right. Well, Eric, is there anything that you've got coming up soon that you want the people to know about? Any exciting opportunities, any exciting stuff rolling out from Versatile Baits?
Yeah. And if there's people that haven't heard of me, that's new, obviously I have this 10-inch. I've been working on this for a while. Obviously I integrated technology into it, so it's going to be getting sped up. I do have a waking crank. I have been trying to figure out how to run Blender, but I have a waking crank that's coming that is a profile that is not out there, and a hard bait. So that's going to be something cool. I have yet to see a hard bait that has that profile. Anthony, have you seen a profile that's a hard bait? that I'm trying to do with that.
Just what I sent you the other day. I think it's gonna be different.
Yeah. I don't think they're doing anything the same. And then like I said, I have a little 5-inch bait. When I first released that was really to target. Yeah, that one. When I first released that, I released that bait to target the newer audience. I've done several shows and expos and stuff like that, and the two reasons why people don't want to buy a bait or start throwing glide baits, and that's either the price of it or the size of it. And so that's why I designed that 5-inch bait. Can y'all hear me?
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yep. Your video's frozen, but we can still hear you. Can you hear us?
Can y'all hear me?
No.
All right. Am I good?
Eric, if you can hear us, go ahead and drop out and try to reconnect, and it'll pick back up where we were.
You sure,
Hopefully.
Jesse?
No, I'm not sure, but it came back right as he left. It's all right. Your guys' faces just got bigger.
I don't even want to see
It's
myself.
good.
Yeah, it's been...
I'm gonna become Trevor.
Not see yourself?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like that.
Did you
At least
guys
you don't
have
have-
any other question? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say at least you don't have other people sending you pictures of you while you fish. I've
weird.
had strangers do that. I turned around, I had
That's
an
because
old
you
woman.
put your number on your car.
He's on his way back in.
Am I back?
Did we have any other questions for Eric?
Am I back?
I don't think so. Hello?
We can see you now. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
No, can't hear you.
Hello, Grandma?
Let me check your
hang on.
track here. Yeah. I'm hearing
You got me now?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
There
it's
you are.
working now.
I hear you now.
Hey, can you
All
hear
right,
me now?
My bad. I don't know what happened.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You were saying, what was the last thing you were talking about?
What was I talking about?
God,
New
5
baits.
inch.
Yeah, the
new
5-inch.
baits, yeah.
The 5-inch. Yeah. So the 5-inch, when I first released that bait, like I said, I was wanting to target the guys that are that want to get into throwing big baits. And I went to these expos and stuff, and there's two reasons why I seen people didn't want to buy a glide bait. Was one, the size, they were intimidated by it. They're like, what are you trying to fish for? Sharks. Or the price.
Always.
And I respect it. So I tried to make a smaller glide bait that was as cheap as I can make it, productive wise. So that 5-inch bait is $65. But a part of that price also is I have a lifetime warranty. So if you throw my bait and you hit a rock, you hit a dock, and you break it, I replace it for free.
Wow.
And that kind of comes along with that
That's
customer
impressive.
service. I've only replaced 3 the 4 years I've been doing this. So, and I think a lot of that is my resin and my mixture and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother subject. But so when I first released that 5-inch bait, I said I was not ever going to do any paint schemes on it to keep that price down. I lied. Way too many people want my paint schemes on it. So that is what I'm going to do. And I don't even think I've advertised that yet. So if you're watching this, there you go. So the 5-inch, I've got my 5-inch, I got my 7-inch, I've got the 10-inch I'm going to be releasing soon. I've got a topwater waking crank and a profile that has not been seen thus far, unless someone beats me to it, which has already happened.
I'm excited for that one.
So, yeah.
I'm sure it'll be better, whatever it is. I don't even know who you're talking about or what the other thing is or what yours looks like, but I'm sure yours will be better.
Well, thank you.
Call it optimism. Who knows? But no, that's awesome. So why don't you share with our audience where they can find you? Like, what are your handles? What platforms are you on? What's your website?
Okay, so on Instagram, it's Versatile Baits LLC. I also have a private Facebook group, and it is Versatile Baits LLC. And then I have a public Facebook page. That's where most of my stuff is on the Versatile Baits public Facebook page. And then I also have a TikTok. I was going live there quite a bit on TikTok and on Facebook. I've kind of slowed down lately because I'm trying to play catch up. I just bought a new house. I had to build a whole new bait shop from scratch, but I'm back in production now, trying to play catch up. I had help before I moved. When I moved, I ended up losing my help. I got help again. So I'm trying to play catch up right now, but pretty much I have all forms of social media: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
Awesome. And it's versatilebaits.com?
Yeah, and then my website, yes, versatilebaits.com is my website. Yep.
Awesome. we'll make sure that there's links. And yeah, here. It's a psychological thing now for me. Whenever I try to say links in the description, it just doesn't come out. It won't happen. It's a mental block for me. It's like a pitcher getting the yips, right? Like, we will include links to all of Eric's social media and website in the description below. And make sure you give him a follow. Make sure you go check out, keep an eye on that website, because I can tell you from experience as of today, there's not much on it. So I get what you're saying. There's a lot of stuff on it. It's all just sold out.
I got a pretty big, I had Shields reach out to me.
Wow.
They just opened up a new Shields here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they reached out to me, and they want some of my glide baits in the store. So I've got a pretty big order I'm coming up with. I'm going to say probably around 2 weeks. I also have a handful of baits out to a lot of smaller custom painters. I do try to help support other painters as well. So I had them come through. I just dropped 11 custom painted ones from Sensei Swim Baits, and they lasted almost 3 minutes on the website. So
good problem to have. That's a good problem to have. And congratulations on the Shields deal, man. That's epic. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I think
it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I'll have to make it over to the Shields in Oklahoma if I want to get a bait. That's what it sounds like. It's only 2 hours for me. It's not that bad. No, that's awesome. So yeah, make sure you're following Eric. Make sure you're paying attention to the website if you're interested in grabbing one of his incredible glide baits. I don't own one myself. One day I will. But no, that's awesome. And well, since we're talking about what you've been working on, Eric, let's kind of go around the room. We've kind of reached that point to talk about what's new in all of our worlds there. So who wants to go first?
I want Trevor to go first.
We always want Trevor to go first.
So what's new?
He sets the tone. You set the tone.
All right. There's something really big that's new, but I will not disclose it right now. But I'm going to start posting hints. So you guys are just going to have to deal with that. And then something that's new to, not really, but I just have to bring it up, was the big lipper Anthony designed. It catches sharks. Legitimate sharks. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll throw a picture up here so you can see it. Yeah,
I could not believe that.
Yeah.
It was Anthony's.
I've got to see
Anthony's big lipper. Yeah, it was Anthony's big lipper, painted by Trev. Yeah, caught a shark. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. It's incredible.
No, he has the mold for it.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, my apologies. Anthony designed the big lipper. Trevor made it himself, painted it, and then the individual that got one of those caught a shark. Yeah,
it was
sorry.
Cool.
So, thank you for clearing up my timeline there.
That's awesome, dude.
Thank you.
Now you can officially say, "Well, are you fishing for sharks?" Yeah, dude.
Yes.
These things catch sharks.
You know what? I need to start getting a hold of some coastal people so I can say that.
I'll send you the guy's Instagram. We know him. He's a cool guy. He's out in California.
That's awesome.
I think he must be close to Mexico because he was saying he was fishing in Mexico also, right?
Yeah, every once a month or something, he's down in Mexico fishing.
Yeah, there's tournaments they do for Mexican grouper, I think he said, or I don't know. Crazy. He caught a shark.
Yeah, he wanted a grouper, and then he told me that he had a yellowfin that spit it out or whatever, and then he sent me 5 pictures of the shark. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Anthony,
what's new?
Reset the tone.
I got my laser running. Finally. That's been over a month and a half. So I can cut. Yeah, I can cut lips now, but I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it did cut a lip. It cut this one. Only problem is I'm not sure if I can cut polycarbonate. This is acrylic, which Jesse hates. He has a disdain for.
Listen.
Same.
I am not accurate with my casts. Let's just say that. For more on that, watch the last episode. I'm not accurate with my casts, and I've broken far too many. I used to use acrylic because it was cheaper. It was easier to get a hold of. I snap the lip off. Anytime I hit something remotely, that wasn't just water. If I threw it too shallow, lip came off. Like I've never had that happen with specifically Lexan polycarbonate is the only thing I use. And so once you figure out how to cut that, I will order hundreds from you. But I can't.
I'm going to do some durability tests. I'm going to go throw this off my roof once we're done.
It'll break.
I'll throw it over the house. Yeah. I don't know. It can cut polycarbonate, but apparently CO2 lasers and polycarbonate don't mix well because it absorbs the laser and kind of just makes a goopy, toxic mess. But I'm going to try it anyway. If you don't see me next week, I probably inhaled too much of the fumes.
Just hold your breath. It'll be fine.
Yep. Another thing, we're going to be selling the molds for this, me and Hunlors, so I don't want to give too much away just in case I'm not prepared when this comes out. But yeah, stay tuned for that.
The chipmunk.
But we renamed it. It's the Nut Runner.
I love it.
This one's amazing, though. This was one he originally, the Nut Runner, the Lazy Hunlors Nut Runner. But this was one he originally 3D printed the actual whole bait out of resin. I bought it from him and fished a tournament that he had, which was just this bait. And I think I came in second by just like a little bit, but it swam awesome. And then we talked about, he's really good at designing the bait, and I have the skill of making the molds and the ability with the printers that I have. So yeah, it's gonna be a cool partnership.
Very cool.
That is really cool.
That's what I use you for too.
Yeah.
We all use Anthony for that.
I don't care. Could be worse.
He likes to be used.
You could use me for food, and I love food, and I don't want to share it, so.
At least we're not doing that. So I guess it's my turn. From last week, there's not been a lot of updates other than after this coming weekend, which as of the date that we're recording this, my entire shop overhaul should be done. I've got all the furniture made. I've just got to go through and reorganize everything and figure out where everything fits. But I should have a full production line ready to go by Monday, and then I'm cranking out the baits. Like that's my goal. I have a tendency to misjudge timelines, so don't hold me to it if I'm wrong. So yeah, if I haven't posted a bait by the time this podcast comes out, then don't judge me. But that's done. And it's not a shark, but I did get a picture from somebody yesterday, OK Custom Baits, who is actually, he was the first person ever to get a slim thick glide bait because he won the launch giveaway. So it was pre-order. He got one of the originals that were made, and he caught a nice, I don't know the exact length of it, but he caught a pike on it. And
nice.
Yeah. So I'll throw a picture of that up too. It's not a shark, but it's still pretty cool in my opinion. It's the first pike I've seen caught on it. But yeah, it's got real sharp teeth.
They're similar in shape.
He told me though, because I was like, man, that's awesome. Like I knew it would catch pike. I just hadn't seen it happen yet. He's like, yeah, and I just missed a 50-inch muskie on it too. And I was like, oh.
Like,
the pike was cool, but the muskie would have been way cooler. But I get it. Like those are hard to catch. So I don't know. It's still awesome.
Someone sent me a picture of a 52-inch muskie one time, and I was like, holy, because we don't have him here. And I was like, holy crap, that thing's a giant.
Mm-hmm. On your bait?
Just got to constantly flex on me, Eric. I get it. It's fine.
No.
I'm joking. I'm totally kidding.
No.
Yeah. Once you get to know me, you'll know that 95% of the things that come out of my mouth are just utter BS. So it's don't.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie though. I'm kind of curious to see if my bait will even hold up to a shark. Like that's got my wheels turning. Like that. Like that's an achievement in itself, right there. Really.
Well,
yeah. Gotta make some buddies with some saltwater guys.
It has 325-pound stainless steel leader wire that's inside of it. Like that's the hook hangers. Trevor, did he put different hooks on it?
Yeah, he asked me not to put any. I asked him what kind of hooks he wanted. He said, "Don't worry about it. He'll put them on," and that was all I know. He wouldn't
That
share
should
the
have been a
details
sign
on
right
it.
there.
Yeah. So I'm putting
Yeah.
in work.
So there's different hooks on it, and it'll remain a mystery. But yeah, so that's what's been going on in my world. So now that we wrap that up, it's time for everybody's favorite segment of the show, and that is the question of the week. And this week's question, it has a little more to do with fishing than last week's question. Last week's question was fun, but this one is actually directly fishing oriented. And we're all going to give our answers for this question, starting, guests first. But that question comes from the Instagram handle is brokenline_13. And they ask, is it in fact no use if it ain't chartreuse? I've heard that before. No use if it ain't chartreuse. And I know some people that definitely abide by that. But as bait makers, I would like to hear the thoughts of the group. So, Eric, guests first. What do you think? If a bait doesn't have chartreuse on it, do you think it's worthless?
No, but I'm colorblind, so everything I like when it comes to color, my mindset is completely different. So like I know the grass is green and the sky is blue, and so I hear that it's like smallmouth, they like pink and chartreuse, right? So yeah, no, that's not true. Chartreuse, I mean, it's a good color. You know what I mean? It's a pretty highly recommended color, but I mean, I throw a lot of blank baits and catch just as much fish. So no, sorry. It is a great color, and it can help maybe trigger a bite depending on water clarity, but no.
I like it.
Great take. Who's next? Trevor, have at it, buddy.
So, what is it? No use? Repeat the question, please.
It ain't, or yeah. If it ain't chartreuse, it ain't no use. Like, yeah.
I used to absolutely believe that, and then I was skunking for like 2 weeks, and then I tied on white and chartreuse spinnerbait, and I don't think my opinion has changed, but it may have its purposes. That's about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair point. Anthony?
I never put much thought into this, but now that I hear the question, yes, it's no use if it ain't chartreuse. And I'm throwing away every other color that I own, and every bait I put out is going to be solid
No.
chartreuse.
Don't throw it away. Don't throw away though. Yeah, you can just send them to me. It's fine.
No,
I won't donate them to a friendly cause.
I won't encourage it. I won't encourage anybody else. I won't encourage anyone else to put out inferior baits that are not chartreuse. So it's all going in the garbage. Yes. Thank you, Broken Line, for opening my eyes to this.
Mine too.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I do like chartreuse. I like chartreuse and blue, but I guess now it's just chartreuse.
I have a hot take when it comes to chartreuse. Because my confidence bait for the longest time, up until very, very recently, was a ribbon tail worm, like I said earlier, but a specific colorway that was a dark body with a chartreuse tail. I caught tons of fish on it. If I was having a bad day, was getting skunked, I could throw that and was confident. It didn't catch huge fish, but it caught fish, right? But now that I think about it, and I've fished some different waters than what's just in my immediate vicinity, I don't think it's the color itself. I think that chartreuse is highly visible. It's bright in any clarity of water. And so that's what gets the attention to it. I think you would see the same result with white. I think you would see the same result with an orange, which I don't know anything about fish biology or how their eyes work, but I think that it's more about visibility than it is about the specific color chartreuse. And now I'm going to get burned at the stake for saying that, because I know there's a lot of people that are hardcore chartreuse is the only way to go. It ain't no use if it ain't chartreuse.
You're wrong.
And Anthony's probably going to stop being my friend because that's all he wants to do now is make chartreuse baits. I think it has more to do with the visibility,
water clarity,
and water clarity, right? If you're throwing it in super clear water, which I fish Table Rock Lake a lot, it's very, very clear water. And I find that on the days where it's a little more stained, like if there's been a lot of rain it's a man-made lake, so if they're generating a lot of water and it's not quite as clear as it is, at peak season, I get more bites on the chartreuse tail. But I think when I'm trying to throw it in its gin clear water, and I had the same experience in Canada, I caught a couple on it. But I think it was more, I think action and visibility play a much bigger role in actually catching a fish than what color it is, like what specific color it is. Me personally, and if somebody has, evidence out there that can prove me wrong, I'm open to changing my mind, but that's just how I feel about it. I think that fish are more interested in the action, and first, they have to be able to see it, right? Second, it has to look like something they can eat. Those are the only two rules, in my opinion. Like, fish will bite anything. That's been proven time and time again. Fish will eat literally anything. They will eat a block of wood. They'll eat a ball. They'll eat,
Marlin baits over here.
Any shape. Yeah. I'm a big fan. I'm a fanboy. So that's my biggest references there.
Yeah.
What got me into this whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's proven time and time again, they will eat anything. They will eat.
Yep.
So, yeah. I think that the action and the visibility come into, like, if you're wanting to target big fish, like the big hunters, but you can catch a fish on anything. As long as it's got a hook on it, you can catch a fish on pretty much anything. So I don't think that chartreuse is the end all be all magic, magic bean that's going to make that makes fish just go crazy. I don't think it's like where they used to say with the wave the red flag for a bull and it would charge, right? Like, I just don't think that that's the case. I think it's more, there's too many other colors out there that fish will eat to make chartreuse the specific thing. I think what it is, it's people like me who are like, oh, I caught fish on this specific color pattern, so that must be the thing that works the best. It's all about, like, whatever your confidence bait is. If your confidence bait is a chartreuse something or has chartreuse on it, and you've seen better luck with that, yeah, you're going to feel like chartreuse is the key to that. But I really don't think it is. I really sincerely don't think that may be the case. I may be way off.
It's the only color needed.
That's a whole rabbit hole in itself. I mean, we're talking about one color, but that's a whole controversial, almost a debate, if you will, when it comes to just colors in general. Does color even matter? Me being colorblind, I mean, to me, there's only 3 real colors to us humans. 3 primary colors. Anything past that is subjective, in my opinion.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I
agree.
I'm 100% with you. Action matters first, profile, and then color. You know what I mean? Like, for me,
100%.
Color can just help that bite. Like, I have, I've got a golden shiner here. Do I have golden shiners anywhere in my water? No. But can I catch fish on that? Yeah, I can. Actually, I've caught 8-pounders on that. But I primarily fish that paint scheme and dirtier water. You know what I mean? So yeah, 100%. Color's a whole nother rabbit hole in itself that I don't want to go down with, because I probably hold no weight being colorblind.
I think that's a valuable opinion, being colorblind. It's like, I think that's a unique perspective. I think it does hold weight, because it's like, how do we know fish aren't colorblind, or that are like, how do we know that all species of fish, like, how do we know smallmouths and largemouths see the same colors the same way? Like, how do we know, like, there's
because
probably some scientists
all
out there
like
that
chartreuse.
Knows. Fair enough. All right, I'll shut up.
The shark liked chartreuse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the only color
I've been proven wrong. Throw everything I just said out the window. And funny enough, the slim thick that the guy caught the pike on, it had a little bit of chartreuse on it. I'm not gonna lie, it did. So yeah, man, my world is shaken. I've been proven wrong, and I will, once we're done here, I will hang my head in shame and think about what I've done. Yes, yeah. So to answer your question, it is no use if it ain't chartreuse. I'm converted. I'm on Anthony's side now, throwing away all my paint except for chartreuse. So that wraps it up. Yeah, that wraps it up for this week's question of the week. If you'd like to submit a question of the week, please leave it down in the comments below, or DM us on Instagram at Bait Boys Podcast. And there's a good chance that once Anthony gets around to creating a spreadsheet, we will read your question in one of our future episodes.
No pressure.
All right, gentlemen, it's been an awesome time. Eric, thank you so much. Again, I mean, it's been great to get to meet you, and you've got a lot of great insights. I'm looking forward to learning more from you. I hope you don't mind if, you've obviously got more experience than me in the resin bait world. And these guys, I don't know about your experience, but Anthony never tells me anything. He won't share any of his secrets. So
found that out.
I think, yeah, he doesn't talk much, that Anthony.
I'm just trying not to steer you wrong, because if I tell you something, it's wrong. So I might as well just not tell you. And you find someone like Eric or Trevor, and they'll tell you what to do, and you'll be guided correctly.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder why we even keep you around. It's not for your sponsor picking skills. No, we all know you're the favorite. I'm just jealous. Anyway, thank you again, Eric. It's been great. We'll have to have you back sometime if you've not been scared off by our shenanigans here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
And to everyone that stuck through with us to the end, thank you for your support. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow on Spotify, leave us a comment, leave us a review, 5 stars, even if you think we're 4, lie. Yeah, I think that covers it. Am I missing anything, guys?
No.
All right. And don't forget to follow Eric. We'll put all his stuff in the thingamajig below. All right. Until next time. I don't know what I was going to say there. Bye.
Bye. Anthony? Oh, I forgot to say it. We did great, guys.